Friday. Let's write it now. Vertical asymptotes are made when the denominator equals 0. So question number 3 says find the vertical asymptotes. And I'm actually also asking you to graph them. That's why I have the little grid thing there. Okay? What would make the denominator 0? What number would make that 0? 1. So we're going to have a vertical asymptote where x equals 1. So that's what you draw on your paper. A vertical, that means up and down, asymptote, dash line, x equals 1. Okay, let's look at the next one. Where would this vertical asymptote be? What would make 3x minus 5 equal to 0? What would make that equal 0? Can you solve that equation? Five-thirds. So we're going to have a vertical asymptote at x equals 5/3. Now when I'm doing vertical asymptotes, am I looking at the numerator at all? No. It's only the denominator. What makes the denominator 0? Uh-oh. Look at this guy. What about that denominator, you guys? It's special.
There's 2.
There's 2 because the denominator factors. How does that factor, kids? X plus 2, x minus 2. Very good. You need to know that. If you have forgotten, you need to know that's how you factor the difference of squares. So there are 2 numbers that are going to make the denominator 0. What are they? Negative 2, x equals negative 2, and x equals positive 2. All right, one more easy one, and then they get a little bit harder. What about this one? What do you want to do with that? Factor? How does it factor? The top doesn't. But the bottom does. How does the bottom factor?
X minus 5, x plus 1.
X minus 5 plus 1? Is that right? Austin, you wide awake this morning?
Yep.
Where are my asymptotes then? There's going to be 2 of them. One will be at x equals 5. And one will be at x equals negative 1.
So you would switch them?
What? You want to put equal 0. It's what makes it 0. Yes. It's whatever would make it equal to 0. So if you put a 5 in here, that would equal 0. So you're going to have an asymptote of 5. Or almost always when we have parentheses, we use the opposite, remember? That's just how it almost always works that way. All right, this one's tricky. Anybody have an idea what's tricky about this one? For the first time in our examples, the numerator also factors. Now this is important, because look what happens when we factor the numerator. Well, what do we get when we factor the numerator? X plus 1, x minus 1. How about our denominator? X plus 5 minus 1. Double check that for me. Now, why is this a little bit odd? Which means what? I mean, in terms of the fraction, what can I do?
Cancel.
I can cancel. So in the beginning, you guys, you thought there might be 2 asymptotes, but actually there's only going to be 1, because the other one canceled out. So we're going to have a vertical asymptote where? Where will our vertical asymptote be? Negative 5. So, I kind of lied to you a minute ago when I said we don't need to worry about the numerator. We actually do need to worry about it if it will factor and cancel. If it doesn't factor, like our first few examples or like this one, you don't need to worry about it. But if it factors, you need to try to factor it and see what happens. All right, F. Does the numerator factor?
Yes.
All right, if it does, we need to do it. How does the numerator factor? Plus 4 plus 5? Does the denominator factor?
Yes.
How?
X plus 4, x minus 4.
Plus 4 minus 4? Uh-oh, beep, 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 beep. What happens? We can cancel. So really our problem is just this, which means 1 asymptote where? At x equals 4. Now, there is no asymptote at negative 5. Negative 5 comes out of the numerator, right? And where do asymptotes come from? Denominator, denominator, denominator. Asymptotes, vertical asymptotes come from the denominator. Oh my goodness, look at G. Okay. Zachmon. Does the numerator factor?
Yeah.
How?
X. Plus 3 minus 2?
Plus 3 minus 2?
No.
I like the idea of plus and minus.
Yeah, but 6 1. Yeah, 6 1.
So plus 6 or minus
Plus
6?
6.
Plus 6?
No, minus 6.
Minus 6. Zach, I totally love the way you're thinking your way through that problem. I know Moses gave you a hint there, but he knew, his gut feeling was 2 and 3, but as soon as he said that, he knew it wasn't right, because when he FOILs this together, he's not going to get negative 5. He gets 2 minus 3, he gets negative 1, so he knew immediately that wasn't right. Then he was thinking, okay, do I want plus 6 or minus 6? He wants minus 6 because that's a minus 5. And when he FOILs, he needs negative 6 and positive 1. Very good, Zach. Very good thought process. And Moses, thank you for the help. What about that denominator, guys?
Section.
We got to section it off. So, I guess I can do that right here. So let's see, I'll take the first section and take out x squared. And then the second section, not much to do there, but take out maybe a -1. Remember, if you take out a -1, that'll become x minus 4, which is really good news because they match. So I write them down. And no matter how many times I said it, some of you are still trying to square it or write it twice. Whatever matches, write it down. Period. Then whatever's left, put it in another parentheses. What do you notice now? Well, I can factor more in the bottom, right? And when I do, I get a cancellation. Which means this is my problem. Now, vertical asymptotes. There's two of them. One's at 4, x equals 4, and one's at 1, x equals 1. Got it? Because now look at number 4. We're going to add to this. Now we're finding vertical asymptotes, but also horizontal. Now, the vertical we already know how to do. So let's look at problem number 1, or A, 4A. You should be able to look at this problem and tell me where the vertical asymptote is. Where's my vertical asymptote? -3. Now Julian's up here, he's up here telling us the answers. The rest of you see -3, divine?
Yeah.
X equals -3. Cole, x equals -3, coming straight from the denominator. What makes that 0? Be -3. Now where's my horizontal asymptote? What? It comes, well, the numerator and denominator are actually both involved. To find my horizontal asymptote, I compare my x's. Look at just the x's. So what would this fraction reduce to? 2x over x would reduce to 2. So my horizontal asymptote is where y equals 2. We're going to do some more. But it comes right here, the x's. 2x over x. 2x over 1x. I guess compare the x's in the numerator and the denominator. I don't know. All right, let's look at B. Anything factor here? They both factor. So the top would factor as what? X minus 2x plus 2, either order, doesn't matter, that's fine. And the denominator is? Now, everything factored but nothing canceled. Which means simply you're going to have 2 vertical asymptotes. Where do vertical asymptotes come from? The denominator. So we're going to have x equals -3 and x equals +3. at our original problem. This time, I don't have x's, I have x squareds, so I compare them. Whatever the biggest power you have, that's what you compare. So in this one, I just had plain x's, so I just looked at 2x over x. Forget all the rest of the stuff. Here, I have x squared over x squared, forget all the rest of the stuff. What is x squared over x squared? 1. So it says y equals 1. So I have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 1. And you will notice Mrs. Ford labels these, that's my expectation. You should have this written down, y equals 1, x equals 3. On your picture, those should be identified. All right, how about that one? Can you tell me the vertical and horizontal asymptotes for problem C? Where's my vertical? Where's my vertical? Oh, x equals 4. Perfect. Why is it x equals 4? Because 4 is what makes the denominator 0. Where's my horizontal? 1. Very good. Kids, we got x over x. It says, forget all the rest of it, it says y equals 1. Perfect. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Where am I going to put my vertical asymptote? Very good. The denominator, where it would equal 0, is negative 6/8, which I think I'll reduce to negative 3/4. So I'm going to have a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 3/4. Yes, they can be fractions. What about my horizontal asymptote? Y equals 3/8. Fractions all over the place. Now, part of E, stay with me, folks, stay with me. Part of E is easy, bless you, and part of E is hard. Okay, what's the easy part? The vertical asymptotes. Those are easy. We've spent a lot of time on those. In order to find the vertical asymptotes, I'm going to factor. Top does not factor. Bottom does, which tells me I'm going to have 2 vertical asymptotes. One of them is at positive 2, x equals 2, and the other